All the Singaporeans I know own a car. I can't afford a car. I can't. I don't even think about that.
Meet Anna, a professional linguist from Spain who moved to Singapore 6 years ago. In our conversation, we dived into stereotypes about wealthy foreigners, the rising cost of living in Singapore, and the unique beauty of Singlish. I'm Max, an entrepreneur and YouTuber. Let's go.
Because all this crazy spike in real estate here in Singapore, I feel like it becomes more difficult to live here for the same amount of budget.
Yes, totally. I know there is a huge conversation about that. I speak from a point of privilege. I've seen mortgage go up by 25% because interest rates went up. And then all of a sudden we got an email from school saying next year the prices are going to go up 7%, I think. And then the school bus 25%. Our salaries are not going up. Well, my husband has a fixed salary. His salary is definitely not going up, definitely not by 10, 15 or 25% like the school bus is. Even like maintenance fees, everything is going up. As a freelancer, if I charge my clients 25% more, they're going to want to know why. I mean, they're like, oh, times are hard. Why are you charging me more? It's like, because times are hard for me too. It's like, I also pay everything more expensive. Totally. I mean, in fact, we were considering options. We're not saving anymore, which again, for me as a freelancer, and that's also something that people misunderstood when we talk about PR. I'm bringing all the money or your savings. I've been a freelancer in 4 different countries, which means that I would never get a pension fund from any country. When I retire, I will not have, I cannot depend on any country, only on one state to pay for my retirement. So I've been, since I was 25, since I got my first paycheck, I've been saving for the day when I retire. So for me, saving is also very important because I know one day, you can be sick or an easy, I don't want to say luxurious, but convenient life at the end of your life after having worked so many years. All those things, now that it's becoming a real issue. Again, speaking from a point of privilege where we could cut down on things. I cannot imagine. I know that many families were simply leaving Singapore because it's not livable anymore. The rentals going up, it can crazy. Like even in this condo, it's normal because the interest rates are going up as well. Everything's going up, but then you need to bring more people with bigger packages because I don't know who can afford those prices, honestly. If you negotiated your salary 4 years ago, you can't expect to have the same standard of living today. There's no way.
There is still this attitude sometimes as I see from Singaporeans. Sometimes people think, oh, these foreigners, they're super wealthy and rich. A lot of cases not particularly true.
No.
Because especially for PR, you start getting something that citizens have, like the lower prices for, let's say, local school. But for if you're on EP, like employment pass, it's super hard to get into local school. Then you need to pay for your insurance. For citizens, it's actually sometimes
you're more protected,
Yeah, you need to have more money.
I understand. We live in condos and we send our kids to these fancy schools. And it's funny, I said that taxes are cheap. Definitely compared to Europe, they're super cheap. But they're particularly cheap compared to owning a car. All the Singaporeans I know own a car. I can't afford a car. I can't. I don't even think about that. Yeah, also, we all have different stories, and it's not because someone lives what you think is a comfortable life that it's always been the case, that it's come easy or that it came without effort. I'm not a poster boy. I work hard. I'm also white. I also come from a working class family from a developed country. My starting point was definitely easier than for so many other people. But I think it's comparable to any person, any middle class daughter of anyone in Singapore.
Yeah.
You never know what struggles people go through in their lives. So
you will never know, yeah. That's true.
So you don't know what they're going through. So it's better not to judge.
Not to judge.
Yeah.
You've been here for how many? 5 years. 6 years. 6 years already.
Yeah.
Do you think you personally changed, or your personality changed maybe a little bit, after 6 years living in Singapore?
Yeah, totally. I think already the experience of being abroad changes you. If you live abroad, even for a short period of time, but if you go abroad and you don't change, you have to have it checked. And I'm thinking, well, now there have been elections in Thailand, there are elections around the world, there are elections coming up in Spain as well. As I see the rise of nationalisms and extremisms and radical movements and extreme right-wing movements, I think that traveling and living abroad is actually a vaccine against all that. First of all, because you become a foreigner. You come from someone like us, you come from a developed country, and you think you're like entitled to certain things, and then you go to a different country and you're just a foreigner like everybody else.
Yeah.
So you're like, all your entitlements and all your rights are gone. You're just a foreigner. So that kind of teaches you some humility. So that's in general, like generally speaking, and then you have to adapt to different ways of doing things, different schedules. When you come from Spain, the time to have lunch or the time to have dinner is very different, and that creates problems when I go back because I don't understand eating at 2 p.m. or having dinner at 10 p.m. That doesn't work for me anymore. But those are, I think, anecdotal. I think that once you've been in Singapore for a while, changes are deeper. I don't know how this is going to sound, but living in Singapore for a while gives you a different perspective on the state of law, your relationship with rules, and how societies work. A different relationship with civil responsibilities. I mean, I haven't thought about this, I'm just thinking off the cuff, but my feeling is that we're all more civilized. When you've been here for a while, you're all more civilized. I sent an email the other day to Spain. They require, I don't know, tons of paperwork. So I sent the million documents on my email that took me 2 weeks to compile, and then I sent that with all my love and all my hopes. Nothing. It's like, 24 hours later, still nothing. 48 hours later, still nothing. So I send an email. Did you receive, did you receive my documents? A week later, they say, oh, yes, thank you so much. We acknowledge receipt. I was like, guys, I mean, just show some respect. Like, in Singapore, you get, like, right away, people will reply, acknowledge receipt. I mean, there's a respect for each other.
Yeah.
Like, we all understand that your time is valuable. Even things like safety. Just being able to leave your phone on the table to reserve your seat while you go pick up your food, that's something unthinkable anywhere else.
Yeah.
Or things like with the kids. I have 2 girls. In Europe, one is 11, so she's almost a teenager. I mean, all my friends in Europe, they freaking out, and all my friends in the US, that's a different level. In Singapore, my kids just go to school, take the bus. My kids would take the public bus. They took the public bus before the pandemic, so they were very young. And they were by themselves because I knew they were safe. Or you talk to strangers. I remember when we first arrived, the little one was 3, so she was very tiny. And then even the security guards, they will be saying hi and waving. And, in Europe, if a grown man says hello to a 3-year-old, you freak out. Like, you take your child and kind of like protect her with your life. I mean, it's like, don't talk to that freak. It's like, you'd be scared. Whereas here, you learn to kind of be more open and kind of you let your guard down, which is amazing and at the same time super dangerous.
Did you understand Singlish straight away when you first came to Singapore?
I see a lot of English mother tongue come here and try to interact with people, in particular in services, and being frustrated because they don't understand, and then they'll be like, speak in English. And I find that is, 1, very rude. And 2, I think it's a total lack of understanding of how languages work. I find Singlish is so efficient and so frustrating at the same time. I remember when we first moved, the first time we had to check the AC, mandatory check every 3 months. And then I had the number of the technician. And so we're chatting, and I was very polite, I was well raised. So it's like, could you please confirm that Wednesday at 3 p.m. is a good time for you? And the answer was, Wednesday can. I was like, okay, so too many words. I don't know, like, this is just my gut feeling, but I think that most people in Singapore who speak English at home are perfectly capable of speaking full English with full grammar when they have to. Also because it happens with other languages that are more of a variant or a variation of a language and that is simplified, is that when you need to express complex thoughts, you need complex grammar. At some point, if you want to express something deep, if you want to express a deep concern or a deep doubt, you want to say, or a deep regret, you want to say, had I known that, I would have acted in a different way, or I would have made another decision. You can't say that without conditionals. You can actually express that regret, that deep regret and that deep reflection, if you don't have a structure that allows you to do that. And Singaporeans are very well-read and very intelligent people who evolved in a very complex environment. So I am sure that they have linguistic tools to express all those thoughts. I'm sorry if I'm being too technical. I'm a linguist, so that's what I do for a living. So
What's the interesting features of Singlish for you?
So efficiency, for sure. I mean, the on the lights, off the lights, I think that's wonderful.
That's the best.
It's wonderful. Because for people who speak Latin languages, phrasal verbs are a nightmare. Like get in, get out, things like take care of and watch out for. I mean, all the phrasal verbs are a nightmare. Singlish just doesn't have that. And then I guess that's taken from Chinese, but the yesterday can. it's wonderful. I mean, it's just so efficient. But again, at the same time, I suppose, I mean, I don't know because I don't master Singlish, but, or like things like la, when you want to emphasize something, and that we have that in all languages, like those little words that can make stronger whatever you're saying. That's wonderful. But again, when you want to express a complex idea, I think it has its limitations. I suppose even for business, it must be very efficient. And the problem probably comes when you need a certain level of detail. I'm fluent in Britain's English.
Yeah.
Talk about language efficiency. I have to say that proper English in Singapore is one of the most beautiful things that I've come across ever. Like, when you Google something, like I talked about the tax returns the other day, when you have any doubts about any official proceedings, you Google, you find the answer, and you actually understand the answer. They use words that you understand.
Yes, that's true. All the instructions, Oh yeah, that's actually true. They don't use this like a lawyer
Jargon.
language.
I'm actually now dealing with a bid for a huge client in Europe. It's a huge thing. And I'm going through a mountain of paperwork. And I'm perfectly fluent in French. French is almost like my mother tongue. And still, I go through the words and I don't know what they're saying. And I keep thinking, if this were in Singapore, instead of 20 pages, we'll have half a page and it will be super clear, it'll be bullet points, and I'll know exactly what they need from me.
I think it's also like different levels of Singlish. So it can be just an accent with casual la, le, or it can be like heavy Singlish.
I don't believe in heavy Singlish. I think that people who speak heavy Singlish, they're just making your life miserable. Or they're doing it on purpose. I mean, they can speak like that to one another. I mean, to someone who belongs to their community or at home or with their friends. But if they're talking to a foreigner, I'm sure they can speak something closer to English so you can understand. So I'm totally for using foreign languages when you don't want people to understand, and I see why they would be used to kind of like making your life harder. But I don't believe that someone who speaks like deep Singlish cannot switch into something that you can understand.
It's like my daughter, she's like proud that she can speak Russian, so she can speak language that almost no one else understands. And she talks to me in Russian, and she knows that her friends, they don't understand what she's saying.
When my kids were little, so I always speak Spanish to them, and then they were born in Switzerland, and then we moved here, so they never lived in Spain. And I remember when they were little, when we go to Spain on holidays, they would like look at people and say, "Mommy, they speak like you." It's like there's like all these people. It's like, so Spanish is actually a real language. It's not something that my crazy mom invented. It's not some secret language just among us.
3 short questions.
Oof.
Chicken rice or paella?
Where? In Singapore or where?
In general.
I'll take a good paella anytime, but I'm from Valencia, so I'm very picky with my rice. So if I didn't want to run any risks, I would go for chicken rice.
Okay.
But
Sagrada Familia or MBS?
just MBS or like the whole neighborhood?
Okay. Sagrada Familia or Raffles Hotel?
Sagrada Familia.
Okay, cool. Tiger or Sangria?
Kalimoto.
Okay.
Are you leaving? Wait, enjoy this video first. But it's gone in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.